the engagement can actually move to a real conversation if you're patient with it and you're leveraging it in an authentic way. You don't have an ulterior motive other than to start a conversation and see where it leads.
Welcome to the Making Sales Social podcast, featuring the top voices in sales, marketing, and business. Join Bryn Tillman, Stan Robinson Jr., and me, Bob Woods, as we each bring you the best tips and strategies our guests are teaching their clients so you can leverage them for your own virtual and social selling. Enjoy the show.
Hello, Stan. How are you?
Doing excellent today. How about yourself, Brent?
Oh, I'm great, and I'm really excited for today's conversation. You actually inspired the title. For years, I've been saying lurker to engager, but it did get a little creepy. So now we're thinking spectator to engager. And I appreciate the new shift in even a little bit of the way that we think about this. So we'll jump in a minute, but I just kind of want to talk about why this is so important. There is this silent majority on LinkedIn, right? And you will notice this. You may say, I have 1,227 views and 3 reactions and 4 comments. So who are these other people? There are people that are seeing your content, but have not been moved to engage. So we're going to talk today about some of the things that we can do to really ensure that we are converting our spectators to engagers. And I'm just going to start with it. You have to make sure that the content you're putting out there is worthy of engagement. Right? One of the things we see all the time is people share content that they want the world to know about, not necessarily content their world wants to engage on.
Yes, exactly.
So that's, before we get into our little list, it is really important that you take a step back and you take inventory of your content and say, if I were not interested in your product or service, but I happen to fall into your persona, your ideal customer profile, would I be interested in this? And would I have something to add to this? Right? So recognize thought leadership is not only about your thoughts, it's about theirs too. So we've got to encourage that. So Stan, I'm going to jump in with our number 1 on the list, which is make sure we're asking them to engage, that there is a CTA, a call to action. Talk about when you post content, what a good CTA might be.
Yes. So the CTA is so important because most people will just read your content, say that's great, and then keep going. So at the end, if you ask them, please let us know what you think. What's your perspective? Has this happened to you? So a CTA is best done in the form of a question at the end, encouraging them to add their thoughts to the discussion in the comments. And it may seem like a small thing, but it's super important.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, I'm invited to engage. So I love that. I have not done this yet, but our friend Joe Affelbaum has done this. And so I'm going to share it for a moment, giving him all the credit until I do it like 5 or 6 times and then I'll take the credit. But what he does sometimes is he'll say, if you think this way, give me a thumbs up. If you think this way, give me a care, like that. So it's almost like a poll using the reactions.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll ask to comment. And I think that's brilliant. I still, to this day, have not leveraged that yet. But I think he'll even create an image that goes along with it that says how to vote with the reactions. So, and when he does it, he'll get hundreds and hundreds of reactions, and all different ones, right? So I thought that was a little clever. I thought I'd share.
That is super cool. It's like pressing the easy button for them to vote. And I'm assuming he also gets a lot of comments in addition to the reactions, since that's what he's after.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing that's interesting. So yes, we want comments. We definitely want them. But if we want to start conversations with these folks, the most important thing is that we know that they're there, right? That's the moving from spectator to engager. So even if we just get a reaction and no comment, they've come out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Right? We're aware that they're there and we can begin to engage with them, right? So it's kind of like eye contact. They didn't start a conversation, but there's an awareness that we both know we're in the same room.
Yes.
So that's how I might look at the reaction, where comments are we've started a conversation.
Yes, and the beauty of LinkedIn, of course, is that you can see everyone who's reacted. So it is worth taking, just a few minutes to look at who's reacted to your content, because some of the people who have reacted, they may not have commented, but they may be people of interest to you. And
yeah,
it may
I
be
love
worth
that.
following up. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I love that. I just have a person coming in with a question. Yeah, so I love that. And I think that it's so important. I'm going to actually move this out of order for a moment. So I'm going to, in our list number 4, which is send content in a message to ask for engagement, I'm going to make this number 2. So number 1 was ask for the call to action. The next one, let's talk about sending the content in the message with using the little paper airplane.
Yeah, so LinkedIn makes it super easy for you to share a post with anyone that you like in the form of a direct message. Bryn mentioned the paper airplane. So of course you want to be very judicious about who you share it with. You want to make sure, as Brent mentioned at the beginning, that it's not content that's purely of interest to you or self-serving, but that it's content that's very relevant to them, that will help them do their job better, help them look good in the eyes of others if they in turn share it. So that is super important. And of course, when you share it in a direct message, just let them know why you think this piece of content would be of interest to them. And of course, you can also encourage them to share it with others if they think that it will be of interest to their colleagues, peers, and anyone else that they know. Any other thoughts that you had on that one, Brent?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit all of the major points. The one thing I'll just add is you can blind copy up to 10 people at a time. So if you take inventory of your connections and you identify, 50 people that you would like to get the engagement from, you can send it, 5 times, 10 at a time, and you just can't use a name, right? So it might be, as a sales leader, I thought you might get some value. I'd also love your perspective on, if you're open to commenting, I'd truly appreciate your engagement. And then you can send that up to 10 people at a time once you do that. And I think there's some major opportunity missed when people don't do that, right? Bob Woods talks all the time about post and ghost, right? So we put out content, we don't invite anyone, we don't really engage. So in this is very purposefully sharing it in the inbox, but I'm just going to go back to what you said, Stan, because you said it perfectly. I just want to drill in. The content that you're sharing matters. It needs to be content that they are excited to engage on, that they can't wait to share their perspective. So if your goal is to go out and just share your brilliance, they're going to go, okay, that was interesting, and move on. But if your goal is to spark conversation, now you're going to move them from spectator to engager. There are times where I'll go through and I'll see a post and I don't know the person that posted, but the content resonates so much for me that I end up engaging. And a lot of times, I'm going to go to this next, is when I see a poll. Like, I may not know who posted that poll, but that poll has caught my attention and I'm dying to vote for two reasons. One, I want to share my perspective, but the other is you can't see how other people voted until you vote on the poll. Talk about a good poll. How does someone put together a poll, or not tactically, but strategically? How does someone put a poll together that will attract the right people to vote?
Yeah, so doing a good poll takes some planning, because you want to think about, what can I ask about that is of interest to my audience? What type of question can I ask that when I get answers, and that's the second part of the poll, it will bring value to my audience? So what types of issues is my audience thinking about that they would love feedback from their peers, others in their industry, to help them think about? Or what types of questions would I love to get answers to, but these answers will also be of interest to my target audience? So not just things that I'm interested in, but again, we keep going back to what's of interest to my target audience. So the question is very important, and then the answers, because you can give up to 4 choices of answers. I'm going to go to the end first. You need to save a place. The last one should always be other. Please share in comments. So give them a chance to share something that's not in your first 3. And think about, okay, what are the primary answers that people would answer? Those will be your top 3, and then other, which opens it up. So if people don't see what they want in the first 3 answers, they can put their own in, which is what most people like to do anyway.
I love that. Sometimes I'll write other, sharing comments. So not only are we saying other, but like, tell me below.
Yep. So other, please share in comments.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Love that. Love that. All right. Now we're going to talk about doing this next one judiciously.
Yeah.
But talk about tagging, and even throw in a hashtag or two on how this can help with engagement.
Yes. So tagging now, as Bryn said, you need to think before using tagging, because you only want to use it for people who you are certain will have an interest. So you need to put their hat on and think about, okay, if I were Bryn, or if I were Bob, will this piece of content help them be very interesting to them? Will they have a perspective to add to this content, to this discussion? Because you only want to share it with people who you know will have something to add to the discussion, and who would love the opportunity to add something to the discussion. The challenge with tagging is that if you do tag someone and they just ignore it, it's going to hurt your reach. So tag people. And one other tip is, if you tag someone and you've got the relationship with them such that if they're a first degree connection, you can send them a DM and say, hey, I shared this message with you. I tagged you in it. Would love your input because I thought this would be of interest.
Fantastic.
So Bryn, I'll let you take, because I've been talking, let you take hashtags, because even though LinkedIn's de-emphasized them, they are still valuable.
Yeah, so and I appreciate that. So this is sort of a subtopic because as you mentioned, LinkedIn does not seem to care much about hashtags anymore, and they have totally de-emphasized them. However, there are people that are following hashtags, and they will begin to see some of your content when you're using those hashtags. So does it create engagement? Not directly, but it does get your content in front of people that are interested in that topic. And so they're more likely to engage if it's a topic that they're following. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
Okay, so we talked about having a call to action. We talked about sending in a direct message. We talked about polls. We talked about tagging and hashtags. We're going to end with what I think is the most important one. Hands down, if you want engagement, engage on their content. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so we always talk about giving before you ask for anything and contributing, which works in the overall scheme of things. Give before you ask.
Mm-hmm.
It raises your level of visibility, and it also helps to amplify their content when you engage, because of course it indicates to the algorithm that people are interested in their content. So one wonderful thing about Sales Navigator is that you can use a filter that shows you who's posted in the past 30 days. So that makes your life a little bit easier in terms of figuring out, okay, who has posted content that I can look to engage on. And then when I do engage, tag them to let them know that, hey, by the way, I've engaged on your content. I've added to the discussion. So it supports them and it also helps you.
I love that. And you may have said this, I heard algorithm and I went into my own brain. So if I missed what you said, the more you engage with someone else, the more they see your content. Right? So if we want them to engage, number one, they have to see our stuff. So by us engaging with them, they will start to see our stuff. But if someone engages with me 2 or 3 times and then I see their stuff, I engage back. I have a gentleman who engages on almost everything I put out there. I'm now seeing his stuff, and it's not that I feel obligated to engage, but I feel like it's the polite thing to do. So Ben, when you're out there and you're sharing that content, I'm on it, right? We've never actually talked, I don't think, if we haven't. But I don't think we've ever actually talked, but he has really thoughtful comments that he puts on my content, like every time for the last couple of weeks. He is high on my radar. So if he would happen to reach out and say, hey, I love your content, I'd love to meet you and talk, I'd probably say yes. Right? So not only with him engaging on my content does that create my engagement, but it creates these trust-based conversations. The engagement can actually move to a real conversation if you're patient with it and you're leveraging it in an authentic way. You don't have an ulterior motive other than to start a conversation and see where it leads. And this is where, as we end this, as you're doing this and your goal is to move them from spectator to engager, make sure that you don't have the motive of moving them from spectator to client. Because if that's what you're thinking, you will lose every single time. They will, in the words of Larry Levine, they will smell your commission breath, even through the computer, right? So really, that you've got to look at this as my goal is to start authentic, trust-based conversations. That's the first step. And so the only way we can do that is if we detach from what that prospect is worth to us and we attach to what we are worth to them.
Yes, exactly. So it is the long game.
And it's not that there's no short game, right? There is a short game, and that's referrals. identifying who your clients and your networking partners know that you want to meet, and getting referrals. But when it comes to moving them cold, spectator, well, by the time they're a spectator, they're lukewarm. But moving them right from from spectator to engager, you are 100% right, Stan. It's the longer game, and you have to be okay with that.
Mhm.
Right? So, yeah. Any last thoughts before we bring this to a close?
This has been great. As you said at the outset, the vast majority of people on LinkedIn are spectators.
Mhm.
But they are reading your content. So take heart, even when it doesn't seem like people are commenting, people are reading your content. So just stay consistent with posting. Do not give up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your brilliant insights today, Stan. I always love learning from you and running these programs. And for everyone who's listening, when you're out and about, don't forget to make your sales
Social.
Bye, guys.
Don't miss an episode. Visit socialsaleslink.com/podcast. Leave a review down below. Tell us what you think, what you learned, and what you want to hear from us next. Register for free resources at linkedinlibrary.com. You can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. Visit our website, socialsaleslink.com, for more information.